Hi, everyone. Welcome to Rebel Soul Stories. I'm your host, Shannon McAllister, and I am on a mission to help mamas break generational pain cycles and really parent from a powerful place of consciousness and connection. And today I have a dear friend, Hannah, who we actually went to high school and played soccer together for many, many years. So so excited to have you on today, and I'll kick it over to you to introduce yourself.
Hi, Shannon. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
I'm Hannah. I am living in Southern California with my husband. I am a leadership expert and executive coach and a speaker also. That's like my new thing. So, I've been coaching for 3 years. I've been learning leadership development for a lot longer than that. And so I'm just, I'm merged it all together and love just watching people step into their full power, their full potential, and really lead their lives. So yeah, that's what I'm about.
Amazing. And it's so needed right now for people to just step into their power and tap into their full potential. I love that so much.
Totally.
So can you set the stage for us? What were you doing before you went on your soul journey? Where were you working? What kind of lifestyle were you really living?
Yeah, so I'm originally from Northern California, and so I moved to Southern California in 2010. And it was really like starting over for me. I kind of needed to get out of the small town, was feeling like if I stayed, I would be trapped. So, I just really decided to go for it and start a new life essentially down in Southern California. And in doing that, I was I was doing school, I was working odd jobs, worked at a camp, and started to get involved in a community, a church community that was like pushing towards growth. And I remember our leadership team really wanted to start developing leaders. And so in one of my one-on-one meetings with them, I was like, oh my gosh, like this is super cool. Like, and at that time we were really just diving into, personality tests like Myers-Briggs. I don't even think the Enneagram was popular at that point, but like Myers-Briggs, I think that was like the main one, to be honest.
Yeah.
But and like Strengths Finder.
Oh yes, yeah.
So those were the main things. And then one of the career ideas for me that popped up was art curator, which I got my bachelor's in studio art, and so that sounded kind of fun. And then the other one was a life coach. And I was like thinking like, okay, well, what even is that? Like, I've had rarely heard that phrase. This was like 6 years ago. And just got kind of curious about that. And then it was kind of like, well, if you're coaching people, you're essentially calling them into their greatness, And so I was like, yeah. And that really like mirrored what I thought the church should be doing anyways. And like what the best people in the world I knew so far were doing. And so they were always like calling people into their greatness, like lifting them up, calling out the gold, not like focusing on what's wrong, stuff like that. And so to me, that was just really interesting. And I just felt like I needed more. Like I was working, I was working at a jewelry store. Like I was a nanny. I was substitute teaching, which was so draining. And so to really focus in on all the pieces that make me felt really, really cool. And like I was investing in myself, even in this little way. And so that's kind of when I started moving into what's next and what else is possible for me. So
that. And it's like, so like you just touched upon such an important thing, because I feel like so often we feel so lost and we have to figure out, where we're headed. And when you take the time to go inward and figure out, like, what do I want? What am I passionate about? What do I like to do? And then kind of putting all those pieces together, over time, it becomes your road to like your passion and your purpose. And you don't have to have it all figured out, and it's going to change along the way, but that's how you really tune in, is like going inward and figuring out, what are all those pieces? What makes me me? So I love that you took the time and kind of had that support system to really do that.
Yeah, definitely. And it's like, I mean, obviously nowadays there's so much free resource out there for like figuring out who you are. And so it's like, just even a small step into doing that would be like, find something that lights you up. Like when you're reading about your personality or something, like that one piece where you're like, oh my gosh, that would be so cool. We'll just like get curious and dig a little deeper,
Yeah. And do one thing towards that one little spark, and you never know where it will take you. Yeah. I love that. So when did the shift really happen for you? What really kick-started your journey?
Yeah, so I was on the leadership team at church, and I was getting essentially coached into my development or leadership development. And I had a friend who was a coach. He's a really successful coach. He was a filmmaker also at the time. And he was like making all of his money coaching. And I'm talking like money. Yeah. Like the money, the money that makes things happen. Right. And so I was like, oh my gosh, like, how do you do it? And I was so curious and asking questions. And the one thing he said was like, if you want to be a coach, you need to hire a coach, because no one is going to trust that you know how to pull them through the journey if you've not already been through it. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, oh shoot, yeah. Like I certainly wouldn't. Yeah. Be like, how do you know? Or like, so from then on, I was like, okay, well, if I'm committed to this, then I'm going to have a coach, probably in some capacity, for as long as I'm a coach. Yes. And so I think he was dating this girl at the time, and she was a really prolific coach for a coaching firm in LA. And I was like, hey, can you connect me to her? And so he did. And he was like, before you hire a coach, I think you should go through this training. And it was like, the training's called Awaken, which it did just that. It literally awakened me to what was happening, blind spots, all that stuff. Yeah. And so he was like, you should do this. It's essentially like a 4-day, full day coaching. Like it's going to put you through the ringer. And even if you just do that, like you're going to feel like the tear of like new growth. Yes. And so I was like, okay, yeah, cool. And so actually, I think that was like when I first made my first bold request that I can remember. So I asked the church if they would pay for me to go. And it was like $500. And they were like, yeah, sure. And I was like, I'm committed to like using this to further the growth of the leadership team. And so anyways, I ended up going. There was actually a extra spot open for my husband to go as well. And so it was just really awesome to have him here. And both of our experiences are crazy different, but we get to have the same language now for like how we experienced it. And it was just like great for further connection, Absolutely. And so anyways, during that training, I was awakened to my blind spots. The biggest one for me was playing the victim. And so I hadn't realized that my whole life, I literally blamed everything on everyone else and every circumstance. And I never took ownership because I didn't want to be wrong. Mm-hmm. I didn't want to look bad. I wanted to stay comfortable. I wanted to stay in control. And so I even something that sounded like for me in my head was like, of course this would happen to me, you know, over and over. Like, I get to the gas station and I'm already late and all the cars or all the gas pumps are full. And I'm like, of course this would happen to me, you know, and even like, which is clearly my fault because I didn't make enough time to get there or have my gas tank full already, you know? So it's just those little things where it would just play in my head. Of course this would happen to me, you know, just like, yeah, just my luck. Yep, that's a great one. So it really taught me to notice my language around how I see myself, how I see the world. And it honestly changed everything for me.
I know it's such a magical moment when you do make that shift, because I lived in victimhood too. I blamed everyone, everything. And the minute you kind of shift that, you get your power back, because you are truly in control of your decisions, your thoughts, and your beliefs. Yeah, you can't control what everyone else is doing or what's happening in the world, but you get to be in charge of your reaction. You get to be in charge of your response and how you're going to make those moves based on what happens, instead of just being like, oh yeah, this would happen to me, I'm the victim.
Yes,
you know, and
absolutely.
It's so powerful.
Yeah, and I think that was such an interesting conversation that I had at the training too, was like, I felt powerful my whole life, but it wasn't because I was actually powerful. It was because I was angry. And I was experiencing a powerful emotion, you know? And so to actually flip it on its head and realize that I'm not actually powerful at all. I'm powerless, and I'm giving my power away to everything and everyone.
Yes.
That was so powerful for me to learn.
Yes. And it's so true. Like, so if anyone's listening, literally go inside and like think about it. Like, do I play the victim? And like, get your power back, because girl, you can make moves, you can do the things that you truly desire, you can make it happen. And we are both living proof that you can change that thought process in an instant, in a weekend.
Yes, literally in a weekend. So
yeah, mine happened at Tony Robbins, so in a weekend. So can you tell us from going to that concert or conference, walk us through the rest of the journey? Where did you go after that to really build up your business?
Yeah, so right after that, I hired my friend's girlfriend, Janet, and we worked together for a year and a half. She helped me build my business. She acted both as a coach and a consultant. And like, I got my first client like in the first month of working with her. Like, she really opened me up to why coaching is so powerful. It's like it's like, you know, in sports, the coach is the person on the sidelines watching the game happen. They're not in the game next to you. They're not the expert of the game, but they're seeing everything you're not seeing.
Yeah.
And they're calling you, they're like inviting you into something new, because up until then, you've lived your life a certain way that's probably no longer serving you.
Yeah.
So yeah, hiring her was the best investment I ever made. I certainly could not afford it. And so I had to find room in my budget because I was committed, and I knew that it would change my life, and it did.
Yes.
So yeah, I was able to serve 13 clients my first year of coaching.
Yeah.
All my clients were like paying clients. Just like, it felt so good. Like, even my husband, so I was subbing during the day, going to school to become a teacher, and like starting my coaching practice. And so I was so busy, but like, after I would have a coaching session with my coach or with a client, I just like, the energy that I had was like unshakable. Like, I even had to like start changing my schedule to where I wasn't coaching at night because I wouldn't be able to go to sleep. Like, I was so pumped up for like what we had just created that, you know, it was like, it was intoxicating. Yeah. So,
because you're feeling that energy.
Yeah. And that's kind of like another way to know, like, if you're on the right track, like if you're actually feeling it move within you, like when you read that pamphlet on what a 2 is and you're like, oh my God, like that is me to a T. It's exciting, then like use that fuel, take it with you. But yeah, so I worked with another coach after that. After Janet, David, he also works with the same firm, and then I just hired Janet again to do mastermind. So I'm leveling up, girl.
I love it. So
Yeah.
awesome. And so, what would you say has been one of your most soul crushing moments of this journey? And how did you turn that into a gem of wisdom?
Yeah. So like I said, I was going to school to be a teacher. There, this is, if anyone's a teacher out there, you could probably relate, but they're always like, there's a teacher shortage. And the reason why is because they put you through the ringer to get your credentials. It is wild. All the boxes you have to check off. So one of those boxes is this test called the RICA. And it's like a reading competency test. So if you're teaching elementary school, you have to know how to teach kids how to read, which I totally understand because it's the thing that changes everything. Yeah. Right. So, but I could not pass it. It's like $200 a test, like a little less than that. And I took it 6 times over 2 years. And I was constantly crushed. Like, I got to a point where I would get the email and I would have my husband open it because I just couldn't take another rejection. And something I struggle with my whole life, and still even now, something I wrestle with is not being good enough. Mm-hmm. And so that conversation, every time I got the negative test results would be like, see, you're not good enough. Or like, it was the victim even sometimes, like, of course you can't pass a test. We're like, yeah, why'd you even try? So it was just like that negative self-talk. It is soul crushing. Like, it really starts to wear at you. And so I finally passed it in April of this year. And so I think it's just like a testament of resilience and grit. Like, if you really want something, you're going to go and you're going to go and you're going to go again. And even if you don't pass, like, it is so brave to keep showing up.
It really is. It's like that saying, like, get knocked down 99 times, get up that last time and you make it. It's like, yeah. And it's hard. It is hard to keep getting, like, because you're like, okay, I get it. Like, I failed 2 times. I learned my lesson, but like, yeah, to just keep going after it. And it's so true. And I think because when you have that why and that determination and you keep going after it, you will eventually succeed. You will eventually get it,
Yeah.
So and it's like, keep going. Like,
right, exactly. The saying, like, 3rd time's a charm is like kind of, BS. Don't lock yourself into a box of 3 times. Like, if you're gonna go for it, go all in, finish it, unless, it requires you to pivot in some way, which is a different conversation. But be courageous enough to keep showing up. Yeah, like, that's what I learned. So
awesome. Well, I'm proud of you for like, keep going and trying, and you did it. So woo. Okay, if you could give your younger version any piece of advice, what would it be and why?
Oh, man. You know what? I would probably tell her to stop covering up. Like, because I remember, like, I saw a picture of myself recently when I was younger, and I was like, you are gorgeous.
Mm.
Like, and I remember constantly, where pulling up my pants, making sure I didn't have a muffin top, like the little pooch in my tummy, like, which wasn't even there.
Right?
I
go back to that body.
I know, exactly. Like crossing my arms,
Pillow.
yeah. Yep. Wearing too much makeup, like all because I didn't think I was good enough. Like I constantly had that conversation in my mind that something else was better and it wasn't me. And so I'm either going to have to do what it takes to cover up and pretend like I'm confident, which was BS because you can smell that BS from a mile away. Or just like accept that I am athletic. I'm super nice and friendly. And like, I just wish I would have seen how beautiful I was, because now I'm 30 and I'm like, now this is the real struggle. Like, girl, you could have just been having fun, running around with your friends, like actually living your best life and taking that into your, next decades. But then, oh, it's just like so heartbreaking. So.
But now you get to do that, and you get to do that if you become a mama and show your babies like, nope, we don't have to cover up. We get to just love on ourselves and be ourselves and, live life how we want to live it. And you get to, now learning that lesson, you get to show others how to do it. So
yeah, definitely. I think it is super valuable to be in a home where there's like an abundance mindset instead of like scarcity around like what you're not doing right, or like, just celebrating everything. I just feel like that's crucial. And I grew up in like a working middle class home, and so everyone was busy doing other things. Like there was no like sit and just be, or like, let me just tell you how great you are for a second. It was just like, go, 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 go. We're just trying to survive over here. So I don't have time to give you affirmations on how good you're doing. But it's like, even those little things are so powerful.
They're so powerful. I do it with my toddler already. I'm just like, I love you. Like, I missed you. You're awesome. And he's not doing anything. I just want him to like have that in his little core and being like, I'm perfect just the way I am. And it's so powerful. And like, and then to your point, like pointing out the goodness instead of the flaws. And I think a lot of us grew up in homes where we were constantly kind of like picked at, or what we could do better, or like trying to fit in a certain way so that our friends, neighbors, church, places like would approve of us and approve of our family. But then we never got that like validation of like, no, you're doing a good job. You just tried that and failed. Good job. Cool. I'm proud of you for going out for the cheerleading team. So what if you didn't make it? Like, bold move, like proud of you. We try things, so we get to create those homes for our babies. So
yeah, we do. I know. It's like my friends who are mamas who like, they're on their first baby and they're like, should we have more? And I'm like, yes, have more. Like, cultivate the family you always wanted. Like such a beautiful gift. If you can, like, what a beautiful gift to give the world.
Absolutely. Well, what is next for you, Miss Hannah?
Yes. So I am in workshop mode. So that means I am showing up, providing obviously virtual workshops, hopefully in person once, the shutdown can stop happening. So yeah, I actually have a workshop Monday, October 19th from 6 to 7 Pacific Standard Time. And it's on burnout, because burnout is everybody's problem. And so I want to equip with the tools to overcome burnout in this season and the next one, because if we're not taking care of what's happening inside of us, it's going to happen again. And so it's going to be a little interactive. It's only an hour, but it's going to be really powerful. So it would be really fun to have, some more people there.
Amazing. And I will link Hannah's Instagram, and then you have a link in your bio. Perfect.
Link in the bio.
Amazing. Yeah. Yay. Well, I cannot wait to hear how your workshop goes. If anyone's interested, I will link Hannah and go join her workshop. And this was just so fun catching up and chatting and hearing more about your story. And I'm just so proud of what you are creating in this world. And you are helping the next leaders show up and step into their power, which is super important right now, because as the world is changing, as things are changing, we need more leaders to step up and show the way and help other people step into their power. So
that's good, Shannon. Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It was lovely catching up.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, everyone have a great rest of your Sunday, and we'll be back next week.